Welcome to Sideline Judgement. My name is Sergio.
My name is Tyler.
And Tyler, we're back.
We're back, baby.
We are like two voyagers roaming around looking for home, and it's getting dark and we saw that light and we just walked towards the light, Tyler, and we made it. We made it home, Tyler. We're back on the pod. It feels so good.
In this analogy, the pod is heaven, because that's what walking towards the light means. Walking towards the afterlife. So, I mean, I have no problem with that analogy. We're back, baby. It's been a while.
We are back. We're back in different locations.
Yes.
We should say.
One of us is back in a different location.
That is true. One of us is back, and it's the person whose name is Sergio. 'Tis I.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh. I am in Hamden, Connecticut. I'm in Hamden, Connecticut. I am in my first week of my master's program in sports journalism.
Yeah.
So here I am on my free time talking about sports.
Yeah.
It's cool. It's a cute little town. You know, it's nice. My apartment. I'm in my nice little.
So what I'm hearing is you're getting a degree in podcasting.
What you're hearing is I'm getting a degree in podcasting and writing and reporting and multimedia.
Yeah.
I'm taking the pod to school. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good one.
That's what I'm doing. Yes. On my Zoom little corner, my little block, it says it doesn't say my name. It says Sideline Judgement. It's funny. I'm actually registered as Sideline Judgement. Yeah. Who is this Sideline Judgement? Oh, yep, I'm Sergio. I'm one half of the pod.
Sorry, yeah, it's me.
Are we going to meet the second half of the pod? No, it's going to be me. But Tyler's here in spirit. We're good.
Yeah. I'll report back to you later.
But yeah, it's been a few months since we had an episode, Tyler, and I think it only serves us right to kick off season 4 of the pod, talking about the craziness that has been college football in the past few months.
This season, this season that hasn't even started yet, and all the craziness going on. Part of the reason that we have been taking such a long hiatus between season 3 and 4 is that every passing day it felt like something drastically new changed in the world of college football.
Tyler, there had to be like 7 or 8 instances over the past few months when I just texted you something about college football and you were like, oh my God, this is crazy. And we would talk about it. And in my head, I was like, should we do like a quick little 15-minute thing? And the more it happened, the more I was like, you know what? Let's just wait till right before the season. We'll ride this wave out.
Yeah.
See what's going to happen.
Yeah. Just to arrive where we are now.
Exactly.
Which is...
So, Tyler, what did we miss from our wonderful conference realignment episode in the middle of June all the way to now, which is towards the end of August, a couple weeks before the season's supposed to start? What have we missed, Tyler?
Well, it's odd that we ended at a conference realignment episode. It's ironic because
Nebraska has something to say.
Just said quit. Nebraska was very upset with what we said about them. But
I actually got a phone call from Nebraska saying, "Hey, is this something that's available?" I was like, "No, guys, this was a joke." But okay.
Yeah. So in the meantime, several conferences due to the coronavirus pandemic have canceled their seasons. The most notable
postponed, Tyler. They have postponed to the spring. Legal jargon.
Postponed their seasons for a possibility of playing in the spring. Mm-hmm. Which I was going to say was canceled with the maybe spring thing, but I guess that works too. But have postponed their seasons to the spring. The most notable being the Big Ten and the Pac-12.
Yes.
Which the parents of the Big Ten athletes are not happy about this, but
they are in full Karen mode.
Yeah,
that's a whole full Karen mode. That's a whole
But most notably, the Big Ten and the Pac-12 have postponed their seasons to the spring.
Mm-hmm.
Which is going to be an interesting debacle to see if they can even do a spring league. I don't imagine the NFL is going to halt their spring processes for 2.
The NFL does not care.
No, yeah.
The NFL looked at this pandemic and said, "Wow, that sucks. We're going to keep playing." So, I don't think they care about that.
In other news,
mm-hmm.
all the remaining conferences that are playing, which most notably would include the SEC, the ACC, the Big 12, and the American.
Mm-hmm.
And
Correct.
They have all decided to play, I believe, all pretty much just conference games.
Most conferences.
Mostly conference games. I think the ACC is allowed. Is the ACC allowed one more?
Yeah. So the SEC is going
one more.
Right. So if we're gonna go conference by conference, the SEC is 10 games, 10 conference only games. There were additions to schedules, and we'll talk about that later on in the pod. The ACC is doing. Oh, excuse me. The ACC is doing, I believe, a 10-game conference schedule as well, with a special mystery guest that we'll talk about later. And they are allowing one non-conference game. You're already laughing, Tyler. I love it. They're allowing one non-conference game so long as that game is either at their home stadium, or if they have to travel, they have to stay within the state that they are located in.
The fact that it says non-conference game means that their other special mystery guests would then by de facto be a member of the conference. Would that be
you would think, but we'll talk about the ACC later. And then I know that the Big 12 is allowing one conference game as well. And then I know the American Conference USA and Sun Belt, which are the three remaining conferences that are going to be playing, there are no limits. They're letting them schedule as much as they can, because I know BYU's looking for games. I know Army's looking for games. I know other independents that are still going to play are looking for games. So they're kind of just throwing caution to the wind and saying, you know what, let's just go do it.
Yep.
So, which is a larger discussion about lower conferences and lower schools needing that money in order to financially survive. Like, athletic departments need that money. They've put themselves in such a position where they rely on this kind of money. And if they don't get it, then we're looking at program shutdowns. We're looking at athletic departments losing millions upon millions of dollars. And that's the big concern here, where like an SEC school has tons of money and can pay for 2 to 3 times a week testing of their athletes, whereas a Conference USA school, they'll be lucky if they'll be able to test their players once a week. And if they're testing their players more than once a week, then you know that money's coming from somewhere else, and something else is getting cut. And maybe a field hockey team is getting cut for the season because they need to test the football players. Like it's difficult. So that's kind of like the underlying factor for this entire season.
Absolutely.
So that's essentially what you've missed. We have an abridged version, right? So much more is going on. Not even to mention the social justice things that are going on in this country right now that a lot of players have expressed. We didn't even mention the Pac-12 Players United, the Big Ten Players United, the We Want to Play Commission, the fact that Trevor Lawrence is now a de facto Players Association president, I guess. The fact that Dabo Swinney says, I'm in support of a Players Association but not a union, not realizing that those are the same things.
No, see, you can't. You said the
can't have
it loud, Sergio.
Sorry, I'm so sorry. My bad. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I should. Never mind. I'm not going to go there.
Back, like, I paid such close attention to all of this, and yet so much has happened that I wasn't even thinking about that, and now I'm just flooded with thoughts.
And I think the last thing that we should say that happened, and then we'll go on to the conferences, and we'll do our takeaways from the Power Three, I guess we're going to call them now. From the Power 3 conferences, there are a lot of high-quality players that have opted out. Gregory Thurow, whatever how you pronounce his name, Russo, out of Miami.
So. I don't know.
He's not playing.
The one good Miami player.
Right, exactly. He's not playing. Micah Pearson's arguably the best defensive player, the Isaiah Simmons of this class, one would say. He's opted out. A lot of players have opted out. Rondale Moore. Oh, moment of silence for our boy.
Rondale Moore got one truly great performance in college, and that's all we'll ever get.
And that's all we'll get.
The Ohio State game.
Oh, such a good moment.
Good times.
Anyway, a lot of these high-level players have opted out, not to mention the players in the Big Ten and the Pac-12 that are not going to be playing this year, like Justin Fields, like
Micah Parsons for one.
Like Michael Parsons for one. Like, there's so many different players that decided to come back, and now that their season's over, maybe we'll see Maybe we'll just get them in the spring and we'll kind of get year-round college football.
Just bunch
of transfers.
You've got 3 weeks left. Like
exactly. So it's been kind of a circus for the past few times, and I think we're just excited to get football back. We're kind of counting down the clock. First games are next week.
We've already eclipsed the 1-year anniversary of Florida beating Miami.
Yes, exactly.
Which, like, when I found out that was a year ago, that was crazy to me. Because also, it's weird. I just have not felt... This football season has felt different coming... The anticipation for this football season has felt different than any other thing I've ever felt. So,
yeah,
it's an unrecognizable feeling.
Right. And I'm just excited for... Listen, like... Let's just put this out there right now. Tyler, should they be playing football? No, they should not. They should not be playing football because it's not the safe thing to do. And people are saying, oh, well, get tested. And just because you can do something doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. And that's where I fall on that. Number one. Number two, am I going to be watching as much college football as I possibly can, fans or no fans in the stands, Big Ten and Pac-12 playing or Big Ten and Pac-12 not playing? Abso-freaking-lutely yes. I'm gonna watch everything.
All of it. Which in a lot of ways, the unfortunate reality of this is that I'll actually be able to probably watch like so many more games because keep up with everything that's going on.
And you know that the networks are gonna switch things around, and so maybe we'll get some televised American games or Conference USA games that we may not have gotten beforehand. So for the college football nerds like us. Still decent time. Let's just hope we get it through the season. And with that, Tyler, let's begin our takeaways from the schedule releases. We're going to talk about the ACC, the Big 12, and then we're going to wrap it up back home with the SEC and talk about our Gators and other teams in the conference. But let's start with the ACC, Tyler. I did tease a special guest, a nice little surprise, you could play with us for a year as a treat. That's the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. They are full-fledged members of the ACC for the COVID season only. Only for one season. Tyler, how do you feel?
It took a global pandemic, but we made it, folks. We made it. Ladies and gentlemen, we got them.
It literally took the existential threat of the human race being annihilated by a global pandemic for Notre Dame to join the conference.
And they still won't admit that they did it. But that's okay. They don't gotta admit it, but it happened.
Oh my gosh! All right, Tyler. Notre Dame,
they're basically an ACC team anyway, but like,
yeah. For the record, every other one of their sports are play in the ACC, so they have a good relationship with the conference, and they do play like 4 to 6 games each year with ACC teams already.
Yeah, they have a schedule. They have play at least 6 games with the ACC.
There it is. Yeah, so they essentially play a schedule already, but...
A couple things about that. One, Notre Dame's got to be livid because in all of the canceling of the non-conference games and things that happened for all these teams, they still couldn't dodge Clemson. They're still playing them.
They still are playing Clemson.
Because they were going to play them anyway.
That's true. This was this year.
And on top of that, exciting news, if we get through this season... In the ACC, it says the top 2 teams, the conference championship game will consist of the top 2 teams based on conference game winning percentage.
Which is how it should be every year.
Yeah, absolutely. But let's just...
We need to get rid of the ACC Coastal suck.
Yeah. We had the 7-year cycle. Now, we should just end it there.
We should.
Never give another opportunity for a Coastal champion.
It's like Thanos. Just like Thanos, like put the last one in, and that's it.
Snap, yeah.
Snap it up.
Of all the ACC teams, obviously Clemson's the best. But the second best right now is
Notre Dame.
Notre Dame. So we may get Notre Dame playing in not only in a conference, but in a conference championship game for the first time in recorded history.
It's theoretically possible that Notre Dame wins the ACC and then never plays in it again. It's so, it's an actual thing that could happen. They could, win the trophy.
I kind of want Notre Dame to win the conference just so that they'll be like, oh, we proved to all the haters that we could actually do it. We could go in and win a conference against a national powerhouse.
Yeah.
All right, bye.
I feel like, have you seen those TikToks where it's like the dub of the song where it's like, I could take your man if I want to, but lucky for you, I don't want to. I feel like that's Notre Dame. Like, I could win your conference if I want to, but lucky for you, I don't want to. And this year they'll be like, all right, fine, I guess we'll. It's like the kid that gets. It's like the kid that like doesn't want to be in a fight because he knows he can kick everyone's ass. It's like, oh, you want to fight me? He's like, no, I don't want to fight you. Blah, blah, blah. And it's like one punch, knockout, and it's like, I told you, and then walks away. This is Notre Dame.
This is Notre Dame.
Let's talk about this conference as a whole, Tyler. So, just as a refresher, the ACC teams: Boston College, Clemson, Duke, Florida State, Georgia Tech, Louisville, Miami, North Carolina State, Notre Dame. Still funny to say. Pitt, Syracuse, Virginia Tech, and Wake Forest. When you look at the schedule, Tyler, I think the first thing to me that stands out is week 1, the 12th, Georgia Tech and Florida State playing in Tallahassee. This is the Waffle House Yellow Jackets. This is year, what is it, year 3 of Jeff Collins?
It's year 2.
Year 2. So they've gotten a year to kind of get the kicks out of the triple option. He's recruited better than Georgia Tech has recruited before he got there. I really think you're going up against a Mike Norvell team who's trying to implement something. That offensive line is still hot garbage. It's improving. They're getting players.
And important to note, Florida State, Mike Norvell and his team have had a lot of tension this offseason.
Yeah. Not even reported was the fact that their best player essentially on Twitter challenged their coach on saying you're a fat liar, essentially. Then there was a whole thing a few weeks ago about the governor, the president, and the coaching staff with some players saying, oh, Florida State's doing phenomenal on their COVID testing protocol. And the players were like, yeah, that's not happening. That's a bold-faced lie.
Oof.
The optics are just not well in Tallahassee. I do think it'll turn around. I just feel like... I honestly feel like this is a case of there was no spring ball. They weren't able to be in summer camps. And these players haven't gotten to know these coaches yet. So until they get to know them, then, I think those kinks will be worked out. But to me, that's a game that stands out week 1 just because I'm excited to see the Jeff Collins.
Me too.
That offense, even though he's defensive coach, that offense just like finally get into gear,
Yeah, see what happens against a Florida State team.
Yeah, I'm excited to see. Tyler, what else stands out for you here in the ACC schedule?
Well, what stands out is that I think that actually, I'm thinking that the schedule sets up really nice for the Sam Howell-led North Carolina Tar Heels.
Ooh, Tyler, I want nothing more.
More than anything, just what teams they have at home.
Start counting the Birdman hand rubs. This is number 1.
Oh, he's first one of the new season.
Yeah,
first
baby.
Birdman hand rub of the new season. Mm-hmm. But for North Carolina, the teams they have at home, it's the only ones that I feel like are really going to challenge them are the Notre Dame Fighting Irish and the Virginia Tech Hokies.
Yeah.
And that could be 2 very big challenges. But if you look at all of their away games, I feel like all of them are very winnable.
Yeah.
And I mean, you're not supposed to say that North Carolina going to Florida State and Miami should be super winnable. But they beat Miami last season. Mm-hmm. I don't think they played Florida State last season.
No, they didn't.
But they probably would have beaten Florida State last season.
What's good with this is the fact that North Carolina avoids Clemson. Huge. So they avoid Clemson. They get Notre Dame at home, and they get Notre Dame at home on the 27th of November. That's that Thanksgiving weekend. So they get them on Friday, which means short week. Short week is always an advantage for the home team because they don't have to travel, and it's right after an open week. Notre Dame also has an open week, but still, they play a road game at Boston College, then they have an open week, and then play another road game at Notre Dame on that Friday after Thanksgiving. So this is definitely like a good prime opportunity. And if you look at it, Notre Dame only gets 1 home game in 5 weeks in that stretch. Oof. They get Pitt in Pittsburgh, which has ACC. There's nothing more ACC.
A coin flip, basically.
Not even. There's not. I think it's like 70-30 Pitt. There's nothing more ACC than Notre Dame underestimating Pitt, not knowing what the deal is, going into Pitt at night, and Pitt going, "Oh, Notre Dame, this is how it works in the ACC. Do you not know that? Everyone loses here. This is a thing we do." So they got Pitt on the road. They got Georgia Tech on the road. Then they get Clemson at home. Even though they're at home, it's freaking Clemson.
That's
okay?
a loss. That's a loss.
It's probably a loss. And then you got Boston College on the road, open date, North Carolina on the road. So it's going to be a little bit difficult for Notre Dame in that adjustment. They did get a fairly good draw in terms of the team that they play. But they do get, in my opinion, the three best teams in the conference, which are Clemson, Notre Dame, and then Louisville. They get all three of those teams on their schedule. So kind of a rough patch there.
A little rough.
Yeah.
A little rough.
A little bit rough there. Tyler, I do want to point out that the week one matchup between NC State and Virginia Tech has been moved to that open September 26th date. Both teams had that date open specifically for COVID concerns. NC State is apparently having a large outbreak on their campus, and so therefore they have decided out of precaution to move that game 2 weeks later. So North Carolina, NC State, and Virginia Tech will be having a bye week on week one while everyone else in the conference plays, and then they will be playing that game on week 3. I think it's important to note that. But given that, I think that's a reason why there are so many open dates on this calendar. When you look at it, every single team has 2 open dates, which in a traditional schedule, you're like, yeah, that's kind of normal. But they are situated so that in case stuff happens in the beginning of the year, they have plenty of space to go ahead and move games later on in the season. So while the Big Ten was kind of afraid, while the Big Ten put out this schedule a few days before they canceled, they bragged and kind of said, hey, look, this is a great thing because we have so many open dates that we can reschedule games to. It feels like the ACC kind of took that page out of the Big Ten's playbook, even though the Big Ten decided to throw the whole playbook away and burn it. The ACC said, that's a great idea, we'll do that. So I think it's important to know.
Right before you burn that copy.
Exactly. And this is going to be a theme that you'll see throughout the other schedules that we look at, that a lot of open dates strategically placed so that games can be rescheduled as soon as possible and in the right situations.
Absolutely.
All right, Tyler. So we mentioned that the top 2 teams in this conference will be playing for the conference title in Charlotte on either December 12th or the 19th. There are 2 open dates there. Tyler, who are your 2 teams that are going to be making the championship game? Let me rephrase that. Who's joining Clemson in the championship game?
It's better. So it's tough. This is a different thing to answer because usually this is largely a byproduct of scheduling, but also your division makeup. That's not a factor here.
Right.
So we're just going to assume, just for the sake of argument, that everyone loses to Clemson. Okay. Who's set up best next to be good? Virginia Tech has a pretty clear path. They don't have to play Notre Dame. That's pretty big for them.
But they do get Clemson.
But I'm saying that everyone's going to lose to Clemson once. So automatic -1.
But not everyone, because teams like North Carolina don't play Clemson.
Ooh, that's a good point.
Teams like Duke don't play Clemson.
Yeah, Louisville doesn't play Clemson.
Louisville doesn't play Clemson, which is a big deal.
Because the obvious, what appears to be the obvious answer is that Notre Dame would be the next pick, and most of the time I would say that, but the nuances of the schedule do provide you a little leeway in that regard, and I think that Louisville is really set up to take it. Louisville and North Carolina are set up to take advantage of the fact that they don't have to play Clemson.
Right.
So I don't know who I'd pick.
But here's my thing with you. I'm torn between both of those teams because I love what Scott Satterfield is doing at Louisville. It is a turnaround. It's phenomenal. But at the same time, future Minnesota Vikings quarterback Sam Howell is doing a fantastic job there. On top of the fact that Mac Brown is Cruton. Talk about always be Cruton. That man is Cruton. So it's a toss-up. I wish that they played each other because then we could comfortably say the winner of this game is going to play Clemson in the title game. But for 2 schools that don't play Clemson and then don't play each other, I think I'm just looking.
You know what? Who is gonna in this type of season? What's going to be the deciding factor? Is it going to be quarterback play? Is it going to be defensive line play? What are we thinking?
I think it's going to be consistency I think the answer to that question, and I don't think this is the answer you want, but I think the answer to that question is consistency behind the scenes. And what I mean by that is, we're going to talk about this with Florida when we talk about the SEC. Teams that have the same system from last season or 2 seasons before, keeping coordinators, keeping things fresh, those are the teams with an advantage versus, for example, Texas, who have 2 new coordinators on the offensive and defensive side of the ball. It's going to be difficult for them because they're learning new systems. They didn't have spring ball. They didn't have summer camp. They didn't have extended practices. They're kind of condensing everything, and it's difficult for 18 to 22-year-old young men to go ahead and absorb that on top of going to school, on top of worrying about coronavirus, on top of all the things that are going on right now. So to me, the teams that are going to be most successful are the teams with consistency. That's why I like Louisville. That's why I like North Carolina. You know, these teams are going to stay there.
I'm trying to decide between the two.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to go ahead and give you mine between the two, and I'm going to go with North Carolina. And the reason I'm going to go with North Carolina is because while I love what Scott Satterfield is doing there, the talent at Louisville is not as good as it is at North Carolina at this moment. And when you're depending on consistency like that, the quarterback position is probably the one that you're going to want to have the most consistency at. You know, you can plug and play a defensive tackle. You can plug and play a free safety. You can plug and play another wide receiver. Quarterback is the leader of that team. Yeah, it's hard to plug and play quarterback.
They already shuffled quarterbacks last season.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And they made it work, but I think I'm going to go with you, too. I think North Carolina is the pick here.
So the sideline judgment pick for the ACC title game is Clemson, North Carolina?
Yeah.
Oof.
Poor Tar Heels. Nope. No, I'm not going to be stupid. I'm not going to be stupid. Like,
I might be stupid. I might allegedly be stupid.
We're already having to pick, like, we said all this, but we're already having to say that North Carolina is going to have a better overall season than Notre Dame.
I think that is a true statement.
Well,
yes.
Yeah, well, we have to pick that to pick them to go to the title.
Do you like Ian Book or Sam Howell?
What I like is that Sam Howell is not juggling a new offensive coordinator. Like,
okay.
But my point here being, it's already a stretch for me to be like, okay, Notre Dame is a more talented team. So there is
correct.
that.
Yes.
But we're going to take the leap with this special season where I think anything could happen. The North Carolina is going to go above that. Did we think Notre Dame, if they got there, was going to beat Clemson?
No.
I'm not. Hey, I'm not going to take away what you want to believe. If you want to believe that North Carolina is going to beat Clemson, live in that fantasy world.
I'm not saying. I'm not saying that.
No, we need.
Is it still lying?
Moments of joy in this world right now.
Is it too late?
Joy, then I want you to keep that. But I'm not picking it.
Is it too late to still be considered lying season?
Dude,
or given the circumstances, it's absolutely not.
Football has not been snapped yet.
Okay, so then, all right, fine. North Carolina's going undefeated. All right, here we go. No, I'm playing. No, but I do think North Carolina can make it a more competitive game than you think. Do you remember that? Do you remember that ACC title game? I think it was against. I want to say the one against Virginia Tech.
The one against Virginia Tech, where it was back and forth. Even though
it was back and forth.
Clemson always had a 14-point lead.
But it was
but it never grew past 14 points.
Exactly.
Exactly. Because every time they would score, Virginia Tech would score, but then Clemson would score again. And then Virginia Tech would score again.
It was like a good game after the first 2 possessions.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I have a feeling we can have something like that. But here's my biggest takeaway. I know that we've mostly just talked about North Carolina. I do want to point out, beware of Pitt this year. Oh my God, Sergio, you're being wild.
No, I agree.
Pitt's not gonna contend. Pitt's not gonna win 10 games. Pitt's not gonna win 8 games. Pitt might not even win 6 games. But the 4 or 5 games that Pitt's gonna win, be careful. Be careful, Louisville, who go to Pittsburgh on the 3rd game of the season after Pitt has yet to leave Pitt starts the season with 4 straight home games.
Oh, jeez.
Be careful, Notre Dame, going into Pittsburgh towards the end of December. Towards the end of October, close to Halloween. Be careful. Be careful, Clemson, the week before the last week of the season, having to play them at home on your last home game. Be careful. These can be trap games. It's like the perfect recipe. So that's what I mean by be careful.
Yeah.
So. Tyler, anything else about the ACC? You want to move on to the Big 12?
Let's move on to the Big 12.
All right.
Big 12.
Big 12 country, baby. Good old Big 12. All right, Tyler. So the Big 12 again. Nothing new here. They've always played 9 conference games because there are 10 teams. They've always had the championship game be between the top 2 teams. The only difference here is that they're not playing as many non-conference games. So the schedule here looks pretty normal in terms of the Big 12. So I'm not too worried. Tyler, what about the Big 12 kind of just sparks your interest, catches your eye that you want to talk about first?
Okay. Well, it all comes together for Iowa State to go on a massive title run.
Does it?
Oklahoma in the second week of the season at home.
Okay. All right.
When Iowa State's not breaking in a new quarterback, Iowa State's got consistency. And
Iowa State's got
I'm mostly
future.
lying here because it's Oklahoma, but Oklahoma has an interesting start to their season. They start off with Kansas State at home, Iowa State on the road, and then Texas
In Dallas.
I say this, yeah, but when is it not at Dallas?
I just think it's important to note that in a COVID world,
that hasn't changed. That's a good
which
point.
we'll talk
Sorry.
about the SEC as well.
My apologies.
Yeah.
What I will say is that they could easily win all 3 of those games, and I'd be not surprised.
Mm-hmm.
But those are 3 very losable games.
Considering the fact that they lost to Kansas State last year.
They lost to Kansas State last year. They historically play Iowa State very close.
They do.
Under the Matt Campbell era.
Because Matt Campbell is a array of defense and is a drop of defense and an ocean of offense.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
And then at last it's Texas, which so many times the team that did not deserve to win that Texas-Oklahoma game wins it. So
yeah, both ways.
Who knows? And then that's a very interesting thing for me for Oklahoma. Oklahoma State, I think, has got a really easy first 2 games.
Can we put the pause button on there? Because I really want to talk about Oklahoma State.
Okay, let's do it.
I like Oklahoma State a lot. They start off against a very improved West Virginia team. I think a lot of people are underestimating West Virginia because Dana Holgersman left to go to Houston and stuff. But let's talk about how West Virginia decided to turn it around in the second half of the season.
They were a lot better than I thought they'd be last year.
If there's a team, that, in my opinion, I was like, oh man, I really wish they had a spring and a summer and stuff. It's West Virginia, because West Virginia really would have improved. But back to Oklahoma State. You got West Virginia at home to start the season, dub. Kansas on the road. As much as I love my Jayhawks, no. As much as I love my Jayhawks, that's a win for Oklahoma State.
Don't do it.
What do you mean that? Get out of here. There's a bye week.
Your Jayhawks.
Then they have.
I thought this season would be different.
You know what? I didn't expect a global pandemic.
You've changed.
I have not. You've changed. Yeah, I went through a global pandemic. Of course, I changed.
I lost 2 whole power conferences. Of course, I changed.
Of course, I did. I didn't get to see Justin Fields for another year. Of course, I changed.
Oh, jeez.
I know. No. Then
really,
you get.
That's a dub, though.
Yeah, it's a dub. Bye week. Then you have a recovering Baylor, whose quarterback has suffered, and I don't mean this to be a joke, but in all seriousness, 6 or 7 concussions, and that's a serious problem.
And a new coach.
Where it starts to get intense is those two weeks at the end of October. You got Iowa State at home and then Texas at home. The advantage is that they're at home.
Yeah.
Both could be. I'm gonna toss it up. I'm gonna say win one, lose one. Don't know which. We'll see what happens.
I would agree.
Kansas State on the road, a trap game if I've ever seen one.
Oh, absolutely.
And then they have a bye week to prepare for Bedlam. This is important, ladies and gentlemen. Bye week to prepare for Bedlam. That's big.
That's big.
They could and then Texas Tech and TCU to me are wins in the end of the season. We could see Oklahoma State in the championship game, and I'm not even.
Surprised,
we could get a rematch of Bedlam.
No joke here.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's going to be Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think it's either going to be Oklahoma State or Kansas State.
Do you see? Whoa.
Yeah.
I
said it.
Wow.
I said it. And I love Iowa State. But, if if Kansas State beats Oklahoma in the first week of the season, all bets are off. Like,
okay, so that's the catalyst.
They're running because so if they beat Oklahoma first week of the season, Texas Tech and TCU, they can beat both of them.
Yeah.
Bye week, Kansas at home, West Virginia. Then you play Oklahoma State. Then you get a bye week to play Iowa State, Baylor, Texas. The back half's pretty hard.
The back half is tough.
But if you can get past Oklahoma, and even if you don't, I think it's one of those things. They've got a quarterback coming back. Mm-hmm. I love their coach. I like their play style. I think would fit well with this season. But who knows? I don't think any team's going to go undefeated.
All right, I agree with you. I'm going to give you an out. I'm going to give you an out. If Kansas State loses to Oklahoma in week 1, if that happens, then I don't feel like they can make it, because if that happens, I see one, 2.
It's hard to recover from that.
I see 3 losses on their schedule: Oklahoma and Oklahoma State for sure, and then one of either Iowa State or Texas. So are 3 losses enough to make it to the title game? I think 2 losses could be enough to make it to the title game. But I don't think 3 losses are. So if Kansas State loses to Oklahoma, who is your other team in the championship?
It'd probably be Oklahoma State.
Okay, so
when I said it's either Oklahoma State or Kansas State, I think I'm going to pick Oklahoma State. Mm-hmm. But I'm just saying, Kansas State could do it.
If Kansas State wins week 1 against Oklahoma, all bets are off for the whole conference. Because if that's the way we're going to do things this year,
to me, because it's a highly impactful conference game for these two. Like, as much as I love the big name non-conference games, it's very interesting. It's weird because I both like and don't like how these important conference games. And I know this is a byproduct of the pandemic, and it's not like for everything, but like these important conference games are immediate. They're the jumping off point. And I want to bring that up because it's like none of these teams, not a single one of these teams, are going to be full-fledged ready at the time.
Yeah,
you need multiple weeks of practice just to get ready for a season, and then by that point, every team has an ugly week 1.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, look at you talked about it's a couple days ago was the 1-year anniversary of the Florida Miami game. That was a horrible game for Florida. The team that played LSU was not the same team that played Miami, and that was just probably 6 weeks later.
Yeah.
You know,
and that's not even really because of the change of quarterback. Just everything about the team just started to click because you find all teams kind of find themselves as they go through their season.
There's a reason there's those non-conference games at the beginning of the year so that teams can kind of get their kinks through and keep going. And that's why when teams, vice versa, when teams win a big non-conference game like Auburn last year beating Oregon week 1, that was a big deal. Because it was like, oh my God, week 1. But at the same time, we also didn't fault it to Oregon because it was week 1.
Yeah. So that's the thing. You have every single game matters intensely to the conference race, and I'm just very fascinated to see Oklahoma play Kansas State week 1. It's probably one of my favorite games to be.
I think that's
locked into.
That's a circle game, definitely. I also I want to talk Texas. Both of us have kind of thrown Texas a bit to the side. We're talking about Oklahoma for sure as a lock, and then we're kind of debating between Oklahoma State, and for me personally, Oklahoma State and Iowa State, and then you're bringing in Kansas State, which is definitely plausible. But we're not talking Texas, man. What does Texas have to do? Let's look at the schedule, man. Well, let's play the game. Let's play the game.
Okay, let's play the game.
All right, on the road, Texas Tech.
Dub.
1-0. TCU at home. Really? That's not just an automatic dub for you?
I don't know. Like, okay,
I think I think you're.
Because there are just years and games where TCU just kicks Texas.
True, but TCU just recently lost a starting quarterback. I don't know if you saw that last week.
I did not see that, so never mind.
Yeah,
that was a humongous part of what I was doing.
He has a condition in his heart, a cardiovascular condition, not caused by COVID. It was something he had from birth, and because they're doing more routine cardiac scans due to COVID, they actually found it. So he is actually out indefinitely. And I hate that I forgot his name. I don't pay attention to TCU rosters
Max
much.
Duggan?
I think it's Max Duggan, yeah. I think it's Duggan.
All right, I'm just gonna look that changes my outlook entirely.
I was going to, I didn't know if you had that information, because that's an important thing to have.
Yeah, no, dub for Texas then. 2-0.
Okay, perfect. 2-0. Then you got Red River.
I'm going to say
Toss
it's a
up.
loss.
Toss-up. In my opinion, that's a toss-up.
It's a toss-up. I'm errant. Well, it's a balancing act because it was one of those things where we were talking about consistency.
Yeah.
Texas does not have a lot of consistency.
True. New coordinators.
Except for at one position.
But forget about that. There's two new
Oklahoma
coordinators.
Does not have consistency at quarterback, but has consistency basically everywhere else. So
Should we?
I really love Spencer Rattler, so
right.
I think I'm going to go Oklahoma.
I agree, and I also think that the reason that we should go Oklahoma there is because it's not like Spencer Rattler wasn't in the system. It's a rare case of Oklahoma quarterback being there already. It's not like he's a brand new person and trying to learn it.
Transfer.
Exactly. So he does have experience in the system. I'm going to go Oklahoma. So let's go 2-1.
So,
then you got Baylor at home.
That's the W.
Oklahoma State in Stillwater. I think
it's a loss.
I think that's a loss too.
I think it's a loss. So 3-2.
Yeah, 3-2. West Virginia at home, dub.
I'm gonna go win.
Yeah, me too. Kansas in Lawrence. Stop it.
Win.
Thank you. Although they almost lost to them last year.
Stop it.
I'm saying
we're back.
The Mad Hatter.
We're back and forth about
the Mad Hatter. You don't know
of Kansas Jayhawks.
All right. What did we put that at?
5-2 now.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 5-2. Iowa State at home.
Loss.
Thanksgiving weekend.
I'm gonna do it. Loss.
Wow.
They're gonna lose to Iowa State.
Oh my
Texas
gosh.
is gonna lose to Brock Purdy.
Is that 5-3?
Brock Purdy does not lose to Texas.
Is that 5-3?
That's 5-3.
And then Kansas State in Manhattan.
Toss up.
Oh my God! Wow, I cannot believe this. We're so down on Texas.
At best, 6-3.
Look at this. Wow, at best 6-3, and like we said before, 3 wins is not going to get you into the, or 3 losses is not going to get you in there.
Well, here's the thing: in a normal season, they probably win their 3 non-conference games, so that'd be 9-3. So it'd be like, oh, good season. Like,
that's very true. That's very true.
That's the thing you got to remember to frame about this always is that they're not playing the same amount of games.
Yeah.
Oklahoma could be 7-2 at some point. We'll be like, what a crappy season. Reality, they'd be 10-2.
Yeah, you're right. You're so right.
Not great by their standards, but it's not. So just got to frame because like a 6-3 Texas team is probably a 93 regular Texas team,
right?
Which I feel like is a stretch for the quality of this team. They were a 7-5 team last year.
So if Texas goes 6-3 this year, and
I don't think Tom Herman's going to lose his job.
Given the COVID circumstances, or given
unless they have a losing record, I don't think Tom Herman's going to
okay.
lose.
I think
it's going to be hard for coaches to get fired this year.
I agree, but I think Texas is that exception where they're like, we're going to make the change. You know,
it also depends on what are the games that they win and lose, and how did they win and lose those games. The context matters. Like,
that's true, especially in a season like this.
Like Florida, like when Jim McElwain was fired from Florida, they could have lost that Georgia game, but they got annihilated that Georgia game.
Yeah.
And there were so many other things that were happening as well that led to that. He probably could have lasted the season if they made it close, or if if a couple things had shifted. But that's just, it goes to show like a lot of it is going to depend on the games that they lose.
That's true. That's very true.
You know, looking at it, it's very possible that they could lose the Baylor game and then win the Oklahoma State game. Because that's the time of. It's Tom Herman team. That's the type of team that it is. Also,
Kansas on the road?
Stop it.
All right. With that, Tyler.
Well,
well,
they do have a bye week.
Just saying.
And Kansas.
So does Kansas.
Kansas has a bye week for a home game.
I'm not saying special things have happened.
I'm just saying.
I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying everything.
Yeah.
All right. So our picks, let's be in unison here, just like we're in the ACC. In the ACC, we picked Clemson and North Carolina. In the Big 12, we're picking Oklahoma. And On the count, we'll say it. We'll say it on 3. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Oklahoma State. Perfect. All right, good.
Okay.
Whew, okay. I didn't know.
Kills me to not pick Iowa State.
I was gonna say, if not now, when? If not now, when?
See, now that I'm looking at it, I'm just. No, we moved on. We're moving on from this. We're moving.
All right, fine. All right, let's go back home.
Maybe us not picking it will finally allow it to happen.
One of those things where like you bet on the other team, and so you're allegedly pay for the win.
Basically.
Nice. All right. Let's wrap it up, Tyler. Let's go home.
Bring it home.
Okay. God on high. For the Les Mis fans.
What was that?
It was Bring Him Home from Les Mis.
Okay.
The beginning. Come
All
on.
Right.
Bring Him Home? No? All right. This is what happens.
I got it once you said it. Like it's just but it's just one line.
If you know, you know.
Okay, whatever.
All right. Tyler, the SEC. Good old SEC where it quote unquote just means more, which is a whole lot of hoopla, but
yeah. I have one takeaway.
Give it to me.
If I'm Eli Drinkwitz, head coach of Missouri, I am finding the commissioner, Greg Sankey, and I'm throwing hands.
Was it Missouri or was it...
Missouri plays Alabama the first week of the season. The gloves come off. Like
Sir,
Eli Drinkwitz
I would...
pulling up in his attorney at law face, and it's just like, let me at him.
Tyler, I'm going to see your Missouri Tigers, and I'm going to raise you in Arkansas Razorbacks. Because the Arkansas Razorbacks play a full SEC West schedule, and then their cross-divisional opponents are Tennessee, Missouri, Florida, and Georgia. They have quite literally the hardest schedule in the history of college football.
I would agree, because Felipe Franks is going to have to face Georgia in the first week of the season. He's going to be like, really? I specifically was trying to get away from this. Like,
it's okay. He still never gets to go to Athens because that game's at home for them. So he still avoids Athens.
Jeez.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I think the takeaway here is the SEC has expanded to 10 games. They've added 2 more cross-divisional games to even it out. And everyone gets 1 bye week. So less flexibility than what the other conferences are giving you. So the SEC is kind of like, hey, look, we're just going to go all in. But they are starting on the 26th. These other conferences were starting a little bit earlier. Right, so the ACC starting on the 12th of September. The Big 12 is starting the 26th as well, along with the SEC. So there's that there. Tyler, do you want to pick a team, or do you want to do Florida now, or you want to do Florida later?
Let's do Florida now. Let's just talk about it.
All right, so let's go through the schedule. You want to play the game?
Let's play the game.
All right. Ole Miss on the road.
That's a win. And hot take. When this schedule was announced, this was the only game that I cared about. Because it is the only game that I am 100% sure we will play.
Very true. Week 1.
Like 100%, without a doubt. Florida is going to Ole Miss and playing a football game. And the first game of whenever the schedule was announced, I was like, that's the one I care about. Because at the worst, we'll play that game. And if we win, we finally get our undefeated season.
There was a video going around the UF social teams. I think they tweeted it out, or it was on Instagram, where Mullen had the team in the what is that? The south end zone, the north end zone, the south end zone. He had them in the south end zone where the recruits sit during games. He had them like spread out in the stands, and he was talking to them. And he points over to the SEC championship stands. He's like, "I don't care how many games we play. I don't care who we're playing. We're getting another one of those on there this year." And then he pointed up to the national championship banner and says, "I don't care who we're playing. I don't care what's happening in the world. We're putting up another one of those this season." And I could see the players like getting pumped up physically. And I was like, Dan Mullen, where's the brick wall I have to run through for you? I am ready. Tell me when and where. I will run from Connecticut. Let's do this. With my mask on. But I will run to Connecticut.
And I will be socially distanced from everything else. But
Question.
Not the wall.
But not the... Of course not, no.
Yeah.
Question for you.
Yeah.
Should I wear my Lane Kiffin shirt playing against Ole Miss?
You have a Lane Kiffin shirt?
I have an FAU Lane Kiffin shirt, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, never mind. Sure.
It's got like an FAU logo. Yeah, so I was thinking that, and then it was the new one I got.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah.
New half of the season, baby. All right, so
that's a win for Florida.
That was a lot of conversation for Ole Miss.
Because it's funny because initially I had thought Ole Miss might have been a trap game, but this is the first game of the season.
No traps.
I'm like, no, it's not a trap.
No traps. And
win.
And this Ole Miss team, it's game 1 under Lane, so the offense is going to be high pace, but the players on Ole Miss won't be able to okay, it's going to be a mess for them. All right. Win. South Carolina at home.
Win.
Poor Will Muschamp. Poor Will Muschamp, man. Poor guy. This might be it for him. All right, 2-0. And we got to go to Kyle Field to play Texas A&M on the road.
I'm gonna say that we win. I'm gonna say
you are much more optimistic than I am.
Yeah, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna say Florida wins.
Okay. I hope you're right, man.
You don't have to agree with me, but I'm gonna say that they win.
All right, let's go 3-0. Here's my thing. This is A&M's third year with Jimbo. This is traditionally the year where Jimbo takes a step forward. They have some studs on the defensive line. They are recruiting really well. Yeah. My only issue is, who's their quarterback, Tyler?
It's Kellen Mond.
Is this going to be a Kellen Mond, oh my gosh, look at Kellen Mond game? Or is this like
the one of those that he's had?
It's like one a year, Tyler. He had one last year. My fantasy team begs to differ. He had like a 400 passing yard game last year.
Okay.
I forgot against who. But like that's my thing. Where is it going to be like a oh my gosh Kellen Mond or like a ooh Kellen Mond yikes game? You never know.
Hoping it's the latter.
It's the first real. It's the first real game of the season.
In reality, it is really like honestly of all the games here, I think it's the most toss-uppy. Because I wasn't expecting for the Gators to play Texas A&M.
No, I was not.
And they mirror each other a lot.
Yeah,
it's the third year for both coaches. They both have a returning quarterback, who I think are the two best returning quarterbacks in the SEC.
That's not saying much, but
no, it isn't. It absolutely is not saying much. Well, I mean, I don't know.
Well, look, my Lord and Savior Tua Tagovailoa is in Miami, so like. The top tier, Joe Burrow is in Cincinnati. The top tier quarterbacks are gone.
Yeah.
We're talking the second tier quarterbacks from last year are now the top tier quarterbacks.
And looking at it, the only other one that would even challenge would be Bo Nix.
He's too young for him. It's not yet.
And I don't feel confident about that. And you could I wouldn't consider Mac Jones a returning quarterback. I mean, he did start, but like.
Yeah, no, but that was Tua's team.
But it's a weird thing. Anyway. So I'm going to trust Dan Mullen and the culture that he's built.
Yeah.
The fact that Florida hasn't had a positive COVID test in months.
That's good.
I'm probably reading way too much into that, but I'm going to say that.
I think you are.
Texas A&M wins.
I also want to point out that, Tyler, take a look at the schedule. Who does Texas A&M play before us?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Alabama.
On the road.
See, and the signature Alabama trait
hangover.
They don't just beat you; they beat you for multiple weeks.
They beat your spirit.
Thanks, Alabama.
Yeah, thanks, Saban.
Go ahead and send that thank you on down now.
All right, I'm gonna be apprehensive, but I'm gonna join you in saying 3-0. But I will be apprehensive. All right, LSU at home with no fans. First of all. It's up to each individual school to decide fans. Scott Strickland, I hope you close the doors.
I don't think he's stupid. I don't think
I don't think he'll do it. He's not like Tallahassee that they're allowing tailgating. Say it. No, say it.
The dumbest idea I've ever heard. Like,
yeah,
it's so dumb.
It's so dumb.
Do you not know what's going on? Right? It's having fans in stands is one thing because it's like. This is more doable in professional stadiums, but like they're humongous stadiums. You could theoretically let a certain amount in and say you have to social distance, and like, we will go up and break you up if you aren't.
There's 90,000 people that can fit in the swamp.
Theoretically, do that. Like I know that professional stadiums, like the Jacksonville Jaguars stadiums, like they're selling a percentage of their tickets, a small percentage, and you have to sit like a certain number of seats away from people.
Right.
And they have like seated dividers in there because the Swamp has bleachers, so it's much more difficult. But
Right.
like Jacksonville has like seats, so you could do that.
Right. So like a family of 4 is like, these are my 4 seats, but then the next fans can't sit another 10.
Yeah.
2 rows back are clear, 10 seats over.
You could do that, and you
zigzag
could
it
do
up.
that in a stadium. You can't. What are you doing tailgating?
No.
The whole premise of tailgating is to like not be.
You know what? The premise of say it. Call it how it is, Tyler. What did we do last year when we were at the Auburn game? We walked from tailgate to tailgate, drank, ate, hugged, watched football, and were extremely close to a lot of people.
Yeah,
that's what tailgating is. That is the dumbest thing that you can do right now.
Absolutely, you
can't do that. It's irresponsible. So I hope that other schools don't do that, and I hope FSU decides to change that up. That's not a good thing.
Me too.
All right, LSU at home. We're 3-0 up to this point. What are you looking at, Tyler? Coming off of an A&M game.
I think we're gonna win the LSU game.
I do as well. This LSU team isn't what it was last year. It's very to say that we are confident that we are going to beat this LSU team is not saying that this LSU team is bad. It's saying that a team that we were in the game up until the last probably 7 or 8 minutes of the game. We were going blow by blow for blow, punch for punch.
You could argue Florida played LSU the best out of anybody in the country last season.
I agree. And against what we're calling historically one of the greatest college football teams of all time, in Death Valley, with fans, at night, in Kyle Trask's, third game?
Yeah, first ever road start.
And he put up the numbers he put up. I'm fully confident that a team that is returning the majority of those players, especially the quarterback, and the same exact system. Joe Brady is gone. Praise Jesus. He's gone. It's not Joe Burrow anymore. People are all in on this new guy, but until he proves it, I'm not going to believe it. I'm going to be comfortable taking the Florida Gators in this game against LSU. It's going to be competitive because it always is against LSU.
Absolutely.
But I do feel like we will win this game. I do feel. So 4-0.
Missouri.
That's a dub.
Win. Then bye week.
Bye week's going to be a little tough, not really sure. Always is. No, but what I do like is that we can get healthy before the game of the year.
The cocktail party.
The socially distanced cocktail party.
Yeah, the cocktail see each other from across the bar.
The Zoom gathering.
Zoom cocktail party.
The world's largest Zoom party.
If I have to watch, we should watch this together on Zoom. Get a bunch of the boys.
Honestly, let's do it. What are you thinking?
See, it's weird because prior to all the COVID stuff, I thought Florida would beat Georgia this season, but then all the news, it kept being like constantly good things for Georgia, like they were getting transfers. I think was it confirmed that the USC quarterback that transferred to them,
JT Daniels, is eligible. Yes, him and Jamie Newman are eligible.
They're both eligible.
There are rumors saying that Jamie Newman is going to start the year, which I think is dumb because JT Daniels is ridiculously good. But that was going to be my question to you. Who's the starting quarterback for Georgia in this football game?
Well, by the time they play Florida, they will have played Auburn and Alabama.
And Kentucky. Don't sleep on Kentucky.
Don't sleep on Kentucky. So likely JT Daniels, if Jamie Newman's going to start.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of in this weird place where I feel that whoever Georgia starts first will not be playing Florida.
Got it.
Because I feel like they will get beaten down or seen as not worked by probably Alabama. I think Alabama's going to be really good this season.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm gonna say that Florida wins because I think we had a more stable quarterback situation.
I agree.
And a very stable culture, which I think Georgia has a relatively stable culture too. But I'm not. This is the least comfortable thing that I'm gonna say. I think Florida can win that game.
I'm apprehensive because
I'm very apprehensive.
I know. Well, here's the thing. We talk about this all the time. Dan Mullen is a better football coach than Kirby Smart. But by God, can Kirby Smart recruit? And in a game like this, talent is huge. The fact that you can just throw guys out there to make plays and make stuff happen is a big deal. I think this has to be the year that we beat them, because I feel like if we don't beat them, you and I and a friend of the pod, Michael Phillips, and I know a bunch of other of our friends are not in this camp, but I know there's going to be people that say we're going to have to get rid of Mullen, XYZ, blah, blah, and I don't want that to start. We don't need any of that headache around our program. There are a lot of toxic Gator fans. Love them, but we got to fix that.
All right. Let's move on.
I'm going to go with a win as well, but you talked about A&M being unsure. This is the one I'm most unsure about.
I'm really unsure about this. Yeah. Like, I'm going to say it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But beyond that, if we can get to this point.
If we can get to this point, we're finishing the season. Let's be real. Like, they're going to finish it.
Next game up is Arkansas at home.
Exactly. Felipe, welcome home. Homecoming.
Welcome home. You're not winning.
You're not winning. That's a dub. So that's what, 7?
7-0. Yeah.
Vanderbilt on the road, which is technically a home game. Oh, I guess not, because they're probably not letting fans in. But that's a dub.
Yep. Kentucky at home. Oh, God.
Is future University of Miami...
They play Alabama the week before.
Oh, just God has blessed us.
Just double-check the schedule. Yeah, so win.
A&M plays in the week before we play them. Georgia has to play Auburn, Alabama, and Kentucky before us. The week before... Oh, yeah, I think we're winning. Wow. Okay.
And the last game of the season.
The always overrated
Tennessee Volunteers. I hate
always
playing
overhyped
Tennessee in December.
Yeah, I wasn't a Gator fan.
I would have rather played them early in the year.
I wasn't a Gator fan the last time we played Tennessee in December, but
not great memories.
Not great. I do my homework, and not great memories is right.
Not great. But it's okay.
Not great, Bob.
We can do it.
Not great. I think
They'll
we can
probably be on their third quarterback by this point. We got this.
Tyler, are the Gators going undefeated?
Yes, sir.
Are the Gators making it to Atlanta?
Well, if they're undefeated, then yes.
Are the Gators keeping it within 14 points of Alabama?
See, now that's an excellent question. I don't know how I feel about it. Like,
oh my gosh!
Because I think it'll be pretty obvious that and it won't work division-wise. But Florida doesn't play Alabama, and I think Alabama's East crossovers are Georgia, Tennessee, which they always get, and Kentucky. I think they're beating
and
all
Missouri
those teams. And Missouri, sorry, poor Missouri. I think they're beating all of those teams.
Me too.
I think Alabama's going undefeated.
I disagree. I think Alabama's going to lose to Auburn. In a weird Gus Malzahn has voodoo magic over Nick Saban, but
no.
But it's not going to matter because I think Auburn's not. Can I give you my take? Can I give you my Auburn take?
Give it to me.
Auburn's starting the season 0-2. Yeah.
0-2. Well, okay, the losing to Georgia makes sense, but losing to Kentucky at home.
Yeah, Mark Stoops is Mark Stoops is going to have a year.
I don't hate it.
I think it's going to happen.
I don't hate it. I really do not hate it. I'm just saying words at this point.
Because you're shocked that I even said it.
Yeah.
No, seriously, I think
crazy.
I think it's a thing. I think it's a real thing that can happen. I also think Derek Mason loses his job this year.
Yeah.
I also think Tennessee does the reverse of what they usually do. They usually start the season off poorly and then get enough momentum to finish the year relatively decent.
Their late season is pretty tough.
Exactly. So they start with South Carolina and Missouri, which are wins. They're going to lose to Georgia, which is 2-1. It'll be competitive against Kentucky, but they'll lose. That's 2-2. Then they got Alabama. That's 2-3. They got a bye week to reassess, to lick their wounds. Then they have wins against Arkansas, a loss against A&M, so that's 3-4. A loss against Auburn. They'll beat Vandy, and then they'll lose to us. Like, it's not going to be pretty for Tennessee. Like, as much as Tennessee fans want to be happy and optimistic, and I can't believe they were ranked, but, like, as much as they want to.
And they lucked out of this by not having to play Oklahoma.
And could you imagine if they had to go into Norman? Good Lord.
No, I just never thought this season. I never thought this season was going to be like one of these days. Tennessee is going to break back up.
It's a matter of time. They have too much talent.
Matter of time. They're too talented, and that's the way it works. And it sucks, but that's just the way
eventually they're going to go back to the coaching.
Oklahoma, and it would have been in Norman.
Yeah,
that's not going to happen.
No, and
I will say, go ahead.
I was going to say, eventually they're going to hit the coaching gold mine and find someone like a Dan Mullen. You know, there's got to be someone out there.
Yeah.
Maybe they go after Fickle. Like, you know, maybe they.
Ooh, that'd be good.
You know, a coach like I thought that Mike Norvell would have been great at Tennessee, something like that. You know, I feel like they'll go after someone in that sense. Maybe they'll go after Scott Satterfield. They'll just back up the Brinks truck. You know, you never know. So, what else?
Real quick, poor South Carolina will maybe win 4 of their games.
Poor Will Muschamp, who's not going to have a job after next season.
Ole Miss is going to start off 0-3.
That is true. They're gonna start off 1-4. They're gonna go into their bye week 2-5.
Win like 3 games.
Yeah. And they're gonna go into their bye week.
Ole Miss would be a lot better, but like, jeez,
it's gonna be rough, man. It's gonna be rough.
LSU will be fine.
LSU will be competitive. They'll lose maybe 2 or 3 games, but they'll be competitive. Kentucky's the big surprise here. I really think Kentucky's ready for a breakout.
So let's say they start off 3-0, which is wins against Auburn,
as I said,
Ole Miss, and Mississippi State.
Okay.
You already predicted the win against Auburn, so I'm just like...
It's just I didn't look ahead. I didn't realize who they had after that. So it's just when you say Kentucky started off 3-0, it's kind of... Because usually they play us one of those 3 games. So that means that the Gators lose, and I don't want that.
Yeah. It's 3-0. I'd say they'll probably beat Tennessee.
Agreed.
Once away, so who knows?
4-0.
They will probably lose to Georgia.
Yeah, but that's going to be a competitive football game.
Yes, and then Missouri after that, which is still recovering.
So they're 5-1.
Then they get a bye week before Vanderbilt.
6-1.
Then Alabama, then Florida. So those are 2 losses.
And they're both on the road, and granted, not as many fans this year, but the act of getting in a plane, going, sleeping in a hotel, that kind of aspect. Yeah. So I'll take those 2 losses.
They'll beat South Carolina.
So they're 7-3.
Is Will Muschamp fired, and is it just a throwaway game? Like,
probably. So it's 7-3.
Jeez,
that's a good year, man.
Go Wildcats, I guess.
That's enough to that's enough to make that's enough to, and given how Manny Diaz is going to implode again this year, it's going to be, I'm telling you, future Miami Hurricanes coach.
Oh, Miami Dolphins?
Bob Stoops. No, Joe. I wouldn't. I like Florida.
All over the place today.
We're getting back in the swing of things,
man. Bob Stoops, future head coach of the Miami Dolphins.
Bob
was
Stoops.
a thing that you just logically said. Like in one of the sentences that you said, that is what you said.
Bob Stoops coaching Tua.
I just said made no sense, but
he's coaching Tua.
This reminds me of all those like stupid fan theories where they're just like, well, you know, what if we just take the head coach and we demote him to a defensive coordinator? You know, demote Brian Flores to defensive coordinator, bring in Bob Stoops, and they're like, well, first of all, you should never do that because Brian Flores, I think, is a good coach.
He's a fantastic coach.
2, no head coach is going to willingly be like, yeah, no, I'll take a pay cut and, you know, a lower position at the same place.
It's not happening.
No. I don't know why we're talking about that. But,
all right, Tyler. Let's. We're on a ramble now.
Real quick. I just looked over the Arkansas schedule again. It's hilariously bad. They start with Georgia and they end with Alabama.
And in between there, they have Auburn and A&M and Florida and LSU. Important notes. The Iron Bowl is still the weekend of Thanksgiving. It's not the last week of the year because things are pushed up. It's still the last week of the year. Still the Thanksgiving week. Same thing with the Egg Bowl. The Egg Bowl will continue to be on Thanksgiving, even though it's not the last week of the season. Love to see it. Florida, Georgia is still. It's not on Halloween. It's pushed back a week, but it's still. But it's still in the same time frame.
It'll still feel like it.
Exactly. And then Georgia Auburn is moved up to the second week of the year, which is going to be fun because, like, boom, first right at the beginning, it's going to be fun.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a good time, especially Auburn. Auburn starts with probably the game of the week in the SEC, Auburn, Kentucky, first week of the year. Then they get Auburn, Georgia.
I'd agree.
Yeah. So, alrighty, man. Your SEC championship game, Alabama, Florida, like me.
Yes.
And then at that point, we didn't say who was going to win our conferences. So for the ACC, Clemson or North Carolina, we got Clemson, right?
Yeah.
And then Oklahoma State in a Bedlam rematch. Who do you got?
I would say Oklahoma.
I would also say Oklahoma. And then Alabama, Florida, we got Bama, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we got Bama.
I mean,
and listen,
it's okay. Like,
I was going to say, this was the trajectory for Florida this year. Win the East. Get to Atlanta.
All I care about.
All we wanted. That was the step forward. Beat Georgia and get to Atlanta, and that's a successful season, I think.
Last question before we move on from the SEC.
Yes.
And we're get close to the end of the pod.
Mm-hmm.
Will Vanderbilt win a game this year?
Let's play the game. Play it with me.
Okay, real quick. All right. Texas A&M.
Loss.
LSU.
Loss.
South Carolina.
Toss-up?
It's early in the season, so...
Early in the season?
It's at home.
So,
Vanderbilt.
I'm going to say loss, but put a little pin in that feather.
Okay.
Put a little feather in that cap.
Missouri.
Loss.
Away.
Loss.
Bye week. Definitely a loss. Ole Miss at home.
Ole Miss is coming off of Auburn, but I'm still going to go with Ole Miss.
It's true.
Yeah.
Mississippi State.
Loss.
Kentucky.
Loss.
Florida.
Loss.
Tennessee.
Loss.
Georgia.
Loss.
Their last 3 games are Florida, Tennessee, and Georgia.
Yep. Listen, so I think their only opportunity...
Dude, just opt out at all Vandy players.
I think the only opportunity is the 10th of October against South Carolina at home. And if they don't win that, it's a wrap.
I could see them beating Mississippi State.
I can't.
Just because, it's air raid and there's been no practice this season.
And the system.
But by that point in the season,
mm-hmm.
I don't think, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think at that point.
The cupboard's not dry enough from Dan Mullen's tenure at Mississippi State.
Exactly. Yeah. It's the last year of potential Mullen recruits in there, so I still think there's some talent there. And yeah. Alrighty. All right, Tyler. So that was the ACC, the Big 12, and the SEC. We did it. We'll be back next week. We got a brand new schedule. We are going to be releasing on Mondays and on Thursdays. Mondays will be our review episodes of what happened on those Saturdays. Or just the weekend in general, because things may change. And then Thursdays will be our previews for the coming weeks. We will not be shifting to 2 episodes a week until after the first weekend of games played, which is going to be the 12th of September. Until then, we will be once a week. We'll be dropping on Thursdays, where we're just gonna kind of talk about things and see where things are at. We'll talk about maybe some players specifically, maybe some matchups that we want to look at. It's kind of a blank canvas. This coronavirus has kind of thrown a wrench into all of our plans. Not just us. So we're just gonna kind of take it week by week, and we will 100% be back next week to go ahead and talk to you guys for sure. We will definitely have an episode out next week.
We're back, baby. Season 4.
We are back, baby. Tyler, do you wanna wrap it up with a good old tweets we've shared?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's
wrap it up, Tyler. Tyler, what is your favorite tweet that I have sent to you over the past 4 months?
Jeez. Well, this
probably be something more recent.
Give me a second.
Can I give you mine?
Okay, I'll give it. I got it.
You gotta go ahead.
You just sent it Monday.
Mm-hmm.
But it was in response to the new AP poll, and everyone talking about all this stuff with college football, and every day should be Saturday. Good old Bum Chillips. He tweeted, "Please don't let any of this distract from the most important news of the day. Tennessee is ranked going into the 2020 season."
Yeah, they are ranked 25th.
That's the kind of year we're at, people. If you weren't aware before, you know now.
Oh, yes, you know now. Tyler, my tweet is actually from yesterday. It's from the Baltimore Ravens. also known as the Broward Ravens at times.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. It's just a simple press release. We've signed punter Johnny Townsend and wide receiver DeAndrew White.
Boy.
Listen, congratulations to DeAndrew White. I'm glad for you. But let's be honest here. Congratulations to DeAndrew White because he's in the same tweet as the man, the myth, the legend, Johnny Townsend.
Yep.
He's back, baby.
Man.
He is back.
Love that man.
Super excited to see him on an NFL roster.
Talented. He's funny.
Yeah.
He was a great classmate back
Incredible.
in school.
I didn't have him. You did, but awesome.
I did. He was awesome. We had to, for our final in one of our classes, we had to, they broke the class into 2 parts.
Mm-hmm.
And we had to, produce a live studio show using the equipment that we had in the studio.
Okay.
And, everyone who was in your group had to be behind the scenes camera. We all had positions.
Okay.
But you would use people from the other group to act in your thing.
Got it.
So him, Johnny, myself, and our friend Fernando Jucadea, they were doing a news parody, like a Stephen Colbert Daily Show type thing. The other
Got
group.
it.
They had us be the news anchors. They had me and Fernie be the news anchors, and the Johnny Townsend was our in the field reporter. And it was some of the funniest. It was probably one of the funniest class periods of anything I've ever.
I've heard he's hilarious.
He's a funny guy. He's great.
He's really cool.
In all honesty, Baltimore Ravens are winning the Super Bowl now.
All right, we don't have.
I wasn't sure before.
We don't have to go into NFL takes.
No. A Townsend won it last. Well, yeah, a Townsend was on our team last year. Never mind.
Exactly. Oh my. I hope so for their sake, for the Townsend's sake.
They're gonna win it.
I do want to tell you that today in class, I legitimately said to my classmates on Zoom, we were getting to know each other, and my professor was like, "Tell me your sports. It's sports journalism." So he was like, "Tell me your teams, whatever." I was wearing this Dolphin hat today. He was like, "Oh, I guess you're a Dolphin fan." I was like, "Yeah, I'm a pretty big Dolphin fan." He was like, "You excited for Tua?" And I literally, listeners, I put my hands in the air and said, "Oh, am I excited for Tua?" And everyone laughed, and I was like, "I hope you realize," and I gave them a warning, first day of class, if the Dolphins are just seemingly relevant this year, you will not hear the end of it from me. I am going to just pound you all with this Dolphins information. And then the Patriots fan was like, "Oh, that's cute." And in my head, I wanted to be like, but, I was polite and nice and said, "Ha, ha, ha." Anyway, no, I told them. And they're like, "What's one thing in your room, their apartment or whatever, that you really find special?" I was like, "Oh, this past weekend I bought a plant. It has looks like a palm tree. And so it reminds me of home. I'm from South Florida." And someone's like, give it a name?" I was like, "Yeah, I named it Tua." Like, "Oh, you're really into Tua?" I was like, "Yeah, I haven't been a quarterback in a decade."
You've been doubling down on this for a year.
It's been years. I think since the championship game against Georgia, I was like, I want this man as my quarterback, and somehow, some way, my dream came true.
We've had fights in the fantasy football group chat about this.
I'm dying. I have died upon the hill, and I will die upon it again. Tua Tagovailoa will be a better NFL quarterback than Joe Burrow. Tua Tagovailoa will be a better NFL quarterback than Joe Burrow.
This is his sister argument to Gardner Minshew being relevant.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
I feel you.
But the thing is that, with your Minshew thing being relevant, I'm on your side, and with my Tua take, you're on my side. So we're just we're brothers here. We're locked arms, man. We're locked arms. All right, Tyler.
People don't know what they're getting themselves into.
Zero idea. Poor guys. Poor
classmates.
Although there was one girl who was like, "I'm from Long Island. I'm also a Dolphin fan," and I literally looked up from my notes and went, "I'm sorry, what?" And she laughed, and I was like, "No, I didn't know we existed outside of South Florida. I don't know many."
That's me with Jacksonville fans. What's up? Where somebody's like, "Go Jags." I'm like, what? I thought it was. I thought wearing Jaguars attire when you're not going to an away game and you're in a different city is as good as wearing a plain white shirt.
Yeah, I thought wearing my Dolphins hats was just if I was to wear a generic Adidas hat, whatever.
Means nothing.
Means nothing. Oh my gosh.
Guess not.
All right, last thing, Tyler, before we let it go, I just wanted to say this on the pod for the record, and I want to see how many of our fantasy football group chat friends listen, because I'm planning something. we're gonna have our draft. The reason that I asked if we can trade picks or like things, remember that you saw a conversation yesterday, Tyler?
Yeah, I did.
So that we had a conversation, listeners, that
what could be traded?
What can be traded, because we're in a keepers league, and so we're essentially drafting.
Listeners, keep in mind that this man is addicted to trading things.
I'm addicted to having the best possible team, and I am determined to win.
Says someone who didn't win the league last year. I wonder who did that. Oh wait, it was me.
I lost by .04.
You lost by not being in the championship game.
I hate you. My point is, I am going to trade the farm to be able to draft Clyde Edwards-Helaire. It's gonna happen. Wait on it. I have the assets. I have
the assets.
I'm the Dolphin. I'm the 2020 NFL Draft Dolphins. I have a plethora of assets that I can trade and move up to secure my player.
Jeez.
Tyler, my wide receivers are Michael Thomas, Curtis Samuel, DK Metcalf, and Cooper Kupp. And I have Tyreek Hill.
See, I mean, I have the assets. I hear you. I raise you. I have Lamar Jackson though.
That's fine, but I have enough assets to be able to trade something so I can go and get the running back I want to compete against people like you with Lamar frickin' Jackson.
Yeah, that's.
I had Deshaun.
Yeah, well, it didn't seem to matter, did it?
Deshaun for Lamar, straight up, right now.
No.
Deshaun in a first.
Because you had a better
Deshaun in 2 first.
Ooh,
Deshaun in my entire draft next year.
That's not how it works.
Did you not hear me? I have the assets.
You can't just keep saying it and somehow think that's going to change things. No, I won the league last year with Lamar Jackson. See, this is the thing you learn about me as a fantasy football player. Mm-hmm. I am loyal to a fault to people because I've won 2 leagues at this point. Mm-hmm. Our league, and my first year I was in my dad's league. I remember the whole thing, which I know pissed everyone off because I was the only person who was under the age of 40 in that league, and I know it pissed them all off.
You were like an analytics kid who came in.
Not even. I just drafted really well.
Nice.
And ever since then, like I'm like loyal to a fault to people that pay me. So we're doing a keeper league, so I had a hard time picking my 9 keepers, even though like I should probably cut like 3 of them. Yeah, but
I realized that Curtis Samuel was like a top 15 wide receiver, and before I didn't keep him, and I was like, this is an asset. I have the assets.
Shut up. Yeah.
Oh man. All right.
I just love how everyone in our fantasy football group chat likes to forget that I won.
Do you have the trophy?
I don't. Andy has not sent it to me. I need to get it.
Andy, man.
I excused it for a long time.
Because
we're in the middle of a global pandemic. But I'm about to text and be like, hey, I will literally pay for the shipping.
I was going to say, you need to get that before the season starts.
I have the stickers.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
To put on?
Tomorrow.
Tyler sent you the stickers?
Yeah. I got the stickers.
All right, my man. Let's think that's a goodest place of any to wrap it up here. We will be back next week talking some more college football. Tyler, I'm glad we're back. We're back. We're in the swing of things. Tyler,
this feels so good.
Hey, Tyler, happy 4th anniversary.
Happy 4th. We did it, man.
We did it, man. Season 4.
Oh my gosh.
Season 4.
4 years of this.
I know.
It does not feel like 4
And you can't get rid of me.
All right.
I hope you like marriage, because this is it. Can't get rid of me.
Okay, all right, okay. When you frame it like that.
When you frame it like that, yeah. All right. Tyler, this has been the first episode of Season 4 of Sideline Judgement. My name is Sergio.
My name is Tyler.
We are not biased, but go the undefeated Florida Gators.
Yes, sir.
Go Gators. I have the assets.
Shut up.